As a designer, your time is literally money. Anything you can do to improve your productivity or how fast you work, how efficient you are, can dramatically improve your design business. In this video, we're gonna go over 7 tips that you can start doing today to increase your productivity. Let's get into it. So the first tip that is super critical is only having 1 call per week. Now, it's super easy as you're first getting into design and becoming a freelancer to have calls every single day of the week at any point. You have your Calendly wide open and people can just book at any time that fits them. However, there is a pretty big issue with that. Deep focus is something that is critical towards your inspiration, towards how fast you work, how efficient you are. And if you have constant calls breaking up your day, then you can't get into that super critical flow. And that flow is what will help you become a faster designer, become more efficient, and get the work done that you need to do. And that isn't any tool. There's no special tool that will help you do that. That will essentially be down to you only allowing yourself to be booked 1 single day. Now, if we take a look at my calendar, now this is like a mock calendar of how my week looks like, but usually I have Tuesdays or Wednesdays, depending on the week. That is the day that I have all of my calls, and I try to schedule in as many calls as possible, as tightly as possible, so that I can go from one to the other. And then the rest of the week is allowing me to become more efficient with my work, and I can focus day to day on the tasks that I need to do. So in the morning, I'll usually cover some mentorships that I have to do on Superpeer. By the way, if you guys want to check out my Superpeer and get mentored by me or help with any projects, then the link is always in the description. And after Superpeer, I'll usually do some client calls and also some YouTube calls if I have that during the day. So this is usually how my day is scheduled, and there is a little bit of work in between those, but that is usually how the day works. It's usually calls on 1 single day, and then the rest of the week allows me to be more efficient and plan my day better for actual work. Now, another thing that you could be missing out on in your workflow is not actually referring projects that you cannot take to other designers. Now, a lot of people do this as their main source of income. They get a lot of inquiries, a lot of leads, and they essentially pass that on to other designers, and they take a very small cut from that, maybe 10 to 20 to 30%, depends on the project. And that is how a lot of people actually make their money in the design world without having to actually complete a single project. You can take the lead, refer the project to someone else if you are completely booked for that time, or if the budget is way too big, way too small, if it doesn't fit what you do, maybe you're a graphic designer and this is more towards video editing or something along the lines of that. You can then pass that on to someone else, you can take a cut, and that's how you can still make money off that project because you got that lead, but you didn't necessarily do all of the hard work of actually completing the project, going through the entire scope, the budget, all of that. And that's one way that you could be making that extra money and being more efficient with your time. Now, another reason why you should refer clients is because you can also build your network like that. People are obviously going to be very thankful if you give them consistent leads and consistent clients, and you gain a network by doing this. And in return, you will also get lots of projects from other designers if they can't handle it, or if they have a different matching with the client or whatever it is, they will send you projects as well. So it's a great gateway where you can gain clients, you can send off clients that aren't necessarily working well for you, and in the process, you gain friends, you gain a network, a relationship with other designers, and it's just a great way to build that community around yourself. Now, number 3 is having async communication. Now, if you are a remote freelancer, chances are that you are already using these tools, but async communication is essentially you get a message from a client and you reply whenever you can, essentially whenever your schedule clears up for you to reply to them. And in this way, you're not doing as many calls as you would. You are being able to be more free with your time. You can schedule everything around sending a message instead of being on a useless call. And I like to use a few different tools for this. Now, the most popular tools for this, the most common ones, are obviously going to be the titans like Slack. And I've also been using ClickUp recently, and links to everything is going to be in the description if you want to check those tools out. But this allows me to communicate with clients, communicate with my designers, with different project management tools without having to go on unnecessary calls. Now, what this does is that it will free up time for the designer, for the client, and people can communicate still. They can still talk about what they need to talk about without jumping on a call, doing small talk for 10 minutes, and then finally getting onto the project and then wasting time. And then, you don't need to do all that. You just need to send a quick message, maybe a few lines, and then they'll reply whenever they want to. So Slack, ClickUp, there's a ton of other tools out there, but these are the few that I necessarily use on my day-to-day. Number 4 is going to sound quite counterintuitive, but you should be definitely taking more breaks than you are. Now, I know this is going to sound quite silly because obviously if you're going to be more productive, you need to be able to work more, but in the design world, this is a niche where creativity flows when you are relaxed, when you have time to be able to think freely about ideas. And if you are constantly stressed about deadlines, about whatever meeting you need to attend to, or about whatever it is, then your ideas won't flow as freely as they would if you just went on to take a walk, if you relaxed, if you watched a movie during the day, whatever it is that you want to do to relax. But you need to be taking more breaks so that your mind can calm down, work on whatever project you need to work on later on when you have more ideas, when you are better prepared to tackle the tasks that you need to do. Now, number 5, one thing that I really like to do is to prioritize all of the hardest tasks in the morning first. This way, when I wake up, I'm ready to go. I'm in my best mode. I have a coffee ready. I'm in my desk setup, and the only thing I need to do is get to work. I don't need to worry about emails. I don't need to worry about any of these small things. I usually do the hardest tasks first. Now, what you'll do with that is that if you complete the hardest tasks first, you will feel like you've already achieved something in your day. And when you already achieve something, you feel better to achieve more and more and more things. So if you tackle the biggest things first and you complete them, maybe it's a massive project send off or whatever it is, you can then tackle on the smaller things. And the next day you tackle on the biggest things again. And if you create the system where the biggest things are tackled first, then you can relax more and more as the day goes on, and you're not stressing about this massive thing that you have to do at the end of the day because you've tackled it first thing in the morning. Number 6, to having a more productive and efficient life as a designer is automate things that you can. Now, automating things will get you very, very far as a designer because a lot of tasks as a designer are quite repetitive. For example, if you need to batch something, if you have a ton of very, very monotonous tasks they need to do, many times what designers do is that they go on places like Upwork, like Fiverr, and they find a virtual assistant that can help them complete these very monotonous tasks. Now, another thing that you could do is go on Zapier and automate your processes using software. Now, I'm going to be using Zapier in the upcoming months to release short form content onto YouTube, onto TikTok, onto Instagram, maybe Twitter. And so posting on those 4 platforms will take me a lot of time. But if I have an automation tool like Zapier to help me, it can free up a lot of time for me, a lot of very silly monotonous tasks that I don't need to be doing because a software is automatically doing it for me. Now, relating this back to design itself, if you think about the batch tool in Photoshop, it's similar to doing that. So if you have a lot of silly little tasks that just need to be done, get someone else to do it, free up your time so that you can take care of bigger and more important tasks, and you can focus on those tasks instead of the very small tasks that need to be done anyways. And lastly is going to be consistent with your craft. Now, repetition is unfortunately the only life hack that will help you grow faster as a designer. And I'm saying this from experience because repetition, showing up every single day, is one of the only things that will help you become a better designer, understand the tool that you're working with better, becoming better at communicating with clients. It's the only thing that by doing it over and over and over and over, you understand what to do, what not to do, what works, what doesn't. And so it's the only way that you can learn how to do something in this industry, unfortunately. And as time progresses, you will become a better designer, you will become a better communicator, but you can only get there if you put in the work every single day, if you show up. But with all this repetition, one of the things that you need to keep in mind is to try to avoid burnout. Now, burnout happens when you are tired of working and you don't necessarily feel passionate about whatever you're working on anymore, and you just simply cannot put in another hour, you just cannot do it, and you need a vacation. If you go into burnout, it's super, super hard to get out, and you need a lot of time to reset your mind to get back into that career mode. So what I advise is to understand how you feel when you are working in your day-to-day. If you do need a break, then take it before it gets too bad. You know, it's easier to prevent than it is to cure. So with that being said, repetition is super important, but understand when it's time to take a break. So these have been 7 tips that can help you become a better designer, work more efficiently, become faster, become more progressive in your career. And if you guys enjoyed any of these tips at all, then do let me know under the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys on the next one.